Chodan Soki Chonam La Jamsu Padu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chunyen Jepe Sonam Ki Drola Penchu Sangye Rupasho Chodan Soki Chonam La Jamsu Padu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chunyen Jepe Sonam Ki Drola Penchu Sangye Rupasho Chodan Soki Chonam La Jamsu Padu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chunyen Jepe Sonam Ki Drola Penchu Sangye Rupasho.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Geshe.
Everybody open the page number 221. 221. We recite the 21 Tara today. This for benefit for all sentient beings, particularly, who want all the wishes, all the obstacles go away, wishes become on time. And Tara special, very quickly, special powerful. Therefore, we recite one time 21 Tara slowly. Okay.
All my prostrate to the noble transcendent liberty. Homage Taras Victorole, guides like lightning instantaneous, sprung from open stamens of the Lord of three worlds, tear-born lotus. Homage she whose face combines 100 autumn moons at fullest, grazing with light rays resplendent as 1,000-star collection. Homage golden dew one lotus, waters warming hand adorning, giving at her calm austerities, patience, meditation, her spirit. Homage crown of Tathagatas, actions triumph without limit, relied on by conquerors' children, having reached every perfection. Homage filling with tutare, home desire, direction, and space, trampling with her feet the 7 worlds, able to draw forth all beings. Homage worshipped by the All-Lord, Shakra, Agni, Brahma, Marut, honored by the hosts of spirits, corpse raisers, Gandharvas, Yakshas. Homage with her trade and paid sounds, destroying foes' magic diagrams, her feet pressing left out riding, blazing in a raging fireblaze. Homage to a very dreadful, destroyer of Mara's champions. She with frowning lotus visage, who with slayer of all enemies. Homage at her heart, her fingers, adorn her with 3 jeweled mudra. Like great masses all excited, all directions wheels adorn her. Homage she so joyous, radiant, crowning, mating garlands of light, mirthful laughing with tutare, subjugating Mara's devas. Homage she able to summon all earth guardians assembly, shaking, crowning with her home sign, claiming from every misfortune. Homage crown adorned with crescent, moon all ornaments most shining. Amitabha in her hair knots, sending out much light eternal. Homage she mid wreath of blaze like eon-ending fire abiding. Right stretched left bent towards surrounds you, troops of enemies destroying. Homage she who strikes the ground with her palm and with her foot beats it. Scaling with the letter home, the 7 levels she does conquer. Homage happy, virtuous, peaceful, she whose freely speaks nirvana. She endowed with home and soha, destroyer of the great evil. Homage she with joy surrounded, tearing foes' bodies asunder. Freeze with whom in knowledge mantra, arrangement of the 10 letters. Homage to ray with seed letter, of the shape of syllable. By foot stamping shakes the 3 worlds, Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage holding in her hand the dear Martina Teva Lekwa, late twice spoken with dispelling poison. Homage she who gods and their kings, and the king arise to honor. In joyful splendor, she dispels bad dreams and conflicts. Homage she whose blue eyes bright, radiance of sun and full moon. With twice Hara and Tutari, she dispels severe contagion. Homage full of liberating, powered by the set of three natures. These forces of spirits, yakshas, and grace corpses supreme turi. These praises with the root mantras and prostrations of Psalm 21.
Go to page 245. The benefit for this phrase.
245.
245.
Prayer of the benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Is endowed with devotion for the goddess and recites this with supreme faith, remembering at dawn upon waking and in the evenings, will be granted all fearlessness, will perfectly pacify all negativities, and will eliminate all unfortunate migrations. The multitude of conquerors will quickly grant initiation. Thus endowed with this greatness, one will eventually reach the state of Buddha. If affected by the most terrible poison, whether ingested drunk or from a living being, just by remembering will one be thoroughly cleansed. If this prayer is recited 2, 3, or 7 times, it will pacify all the sufferings of torments caused by spirits, fevers, and poisons, and by other beings as well. If you wish for a child, you will get a child. If you wish for wealth, you will receive wealth. All your wishes will be fulfilled, and all obstacles pacified.
Good job.
That's our puja.
Our puja, okay? Our puja for 1 week. Every week we do the pujas, then we have no obstacles. Otherwise, always the obstacles. This word was very powerful puja. Easy, short, power. It's good, right? Everybody like to easy, short, power. You don't want to very complicated. Too, long. Too long, we fall asleep. Too complicated, we get angry. Yeah. 이제 따라서 남배기 남주시 그런 것들 제가 나 아니 선체 탐조를 된다. 내가 산지를 공부해야 돼. 가지 때도 내가 또 봐줘. 기체다 나라기. 디셔다니 나라기. 다 중요한 지금 여러 지금 예산을 걸어 그거래서.
So we should set up a proper motivation, thinking that I must achieve a state of full enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. For that reason, I'm going to listen to this teaching or engage in this practice and so forth. So we should set up this kind of motivation at the beginning of our practice, when we're listening to the teachings and so forth.
시체는 가서 내가 가르치 쳐봤는데 내가 재미 내가야 딱 끊으면 로고요.
In general, of course, we think before we do, right? So we always plan, what we're going to do.
근데 이제 내가 야구 영어도 많이 써야 돼. 또딱 끊어라는 거예요.
And so therefore, whether the project or the work that we're going to do will come out to be good or not depends on how well we planned it, how well we thought about it.
그래서 안에 수수 끊어놨다지 제가 계시 보시라 이 말이에요.
And so therefore, it's very important to check our thoughts or motivations.
아니 남수 남배 같이 생체 탐색도 사진 보시라고 그래서 아니 남도 좋아요.
And so why do we have to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings? If someone were to ask that question to us. So for example, we want to benefit others, right? We all want to do something for others. So it is nothing to do with believing in religions or not, right? We all have, whether you believe in religion or not, we all have some sorts of thoughts to benefit others, right? So in order to benefit, there's many ways we can benefit sentient beings.
아니 배나 쇼치니 다치 야 벤조다 되게 거네요 보체 그래서 와.
So you can help them financially.
와. 아니 대셔다다 잼배가 다시 다 잼배가 다 쇼치를 해서
So that's one way of benefiting or helping others.
그냥 대가 잼이 내가 하나 좀 도움 말해서 와.
But just with that alone, you will not be able to achieve or provide them with all the things that they need.
배가 나서 매는 내가야 처음에 인자 나서 가시지 연나 가시 전화도 거 그래서 와.
And so as a human being, we have no limit to our desire, right? And no matter how much we have, we want to have even more.
배나 먼저 건강해야다. 당연히 몇 살만 같이 시 변조 지나간 특성 그래서 삼 수치를 돼.
So is there anybody who is kind of content, with the financial, situation or condition, and says, "Oh, this is good enough for me now."
If you have maybe this example, okay? Someone has a bicycle and they want a car. If they have a car, they need a nice car. The one way, right? Big name car. If someone has, first we're renting maybe a good house, then we need to buy the house. And also we need to good house. Everything is never ever enough. We need more and more. Then first we say, maybe we have our bank maybe $10. We say, oh, I need to maybe $100 is nice. If you put 100, we don't want to use it, we need to go more 100, then 1,000, then up, right? Anyway, this is the nature. It's not our problem. This is
so it's not our fault, but this is how it is in cycle existence. So in one way, of course, it's very good to help others financially by giving them aids with the money and so forth. But that alone will not be able to fulfill all their wishes.
아니 간주 지금 뭐 거야게 거라서 거야게 대화라 양치 세부 대화시다 리게 되면 이유가 말이에요.
And so the happiness that we want, have the physical happiness and mental happiness.
그래다 시다 실 특제기 다 리게 대화서 나타 또 자기 지나도 세도 그래서.
So with the external things like the money and so forth can maybe provide that physical happiness.
옛날 양 그러나 세부 대화 다 되게 그래 저도 말했어.
But that will not be able to provide the mental happiness.
근데 다 간주 지금 semje 간가를 못 가르치고 그래. 세부 대화에 와 다시 좀 가르치고 그래.
So what we have to think is think of helping others and benefiting all sentient beings.
얘나 semje 배라 sem부군 로고 제발라 당부수를 sem하고 이거 그러was.
So in order to help them, mentally, then you have to have your own mental, well trained or prepared, right?
And major sem kola labja jago yo na ya chim gudela sem kanji renge yo wa. Ya tilong shigo yo was.
And then also we have to have the knowledge about others' mind. So you have to know what others, how others' minds are, and what would be best for their mind, and so forth. So we have to know about this.
아이 근데 이마다 단단한 거 일단은 파초 투조로 봐. 무슨 생각 가르쳐요. 생각 가리고요. 생각 강의 가리고 맞고 신경 말해서.
And so for right now, if we look at each other, we'll not be able to find out what other person has a need for, what kind of worries, what kind of desire she has or he has, and what kind of concerns and so forth. So we'll not be able to, understand that.
무슨 뭐 관계가 있길래야. 이거 파초를 해서 봐 시에 돼야 강의야 이래. 야, 뭐 샤바라 시에 마도 강의야 가도 뭐 보여 그래서.
And so there are problems in which we can share with others, but there are also many problems that we cannot or we don't want to share with others.
좋아. 근데 이 봐 연자 아니 다 말수 다다 강에 가리가리 봐 아니 딱 방송을 가리가리고 가서 가는 게딱 신기해요 말이야 또 보여
And so we don't know what other people need, what problems they have, which they are not able to share, and so forth.
근데나 상지 공방해야 돼. 때는 내가 투파했나? 아니 생진 봐줘라. 가리가리고 왔다 참 신기해요.
And so if you, or if one were to achieve state of full enlightenment, then you will have that ability to understand or read others' minds.
근데 이사 아니 배도야 지도 그래서
And so we'll know exactly, what their worries is, what their need is, and so forth. So that way, you can benefit in a better way to that person.
아니 쇼니네 아니 몇 셴발라야 배도 셴발라 아니 다무 소소고 강에서 소소고 야고 무슨 거 그래서
And also, on the other hand, one has to understand about the sufferings, the problems of oneself before one can help to eradicate others' problems or sufferings.
그래서 소소한 거 같은데 다 셴로 받치는데 다모도 받치들 왔어.
And so, if oneself is not, accomplished, then helping other beings is kind of impossible.
나조배나 뭐다 땅 미시게 뭐다 땅 미시게라고 받치나? 네가 남들 딱 답으로 그러왔어.
So if someone who doesn't know how to drive were to help someone who doesn't know how to drive, then both might end up crashing, right?
근데 컴퓨터는 내가 재미시게 람나? 아니 컴퓨터 고시하면 소용없어.
And so also same like if someone who doesn't know how to use computer try to help someone who doesn't know how to use computer, they might kind of freeze everything or just lock them out themselves, right? And will not be able to use the computer at all.
Okay. You check tomorrow to the place to fix. But I don't think maybe this country doesn't fix. No, maybe there are much to place to fix. In Tibet and in India, there are a lot of places to fix, Even broken, you can check there. They fix, But today, by the Jeji, Semka, Nessa, Shinjamalo, Shingo, the channel, as a thousand shows, the channel, give a cheese on
So, in order to help others in that way, by understanding others and so forth, you have to achieve enlightenment. So, therefore, you have that wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings.
today, that Sanjay said, kanji semcheng nesu shincheng maloba to ne tele pembegi ma labja jacha da sanji choose on the lakures.
And so Buddha is someone who knows exactly about the sentient beings, what their needs and so forth, and then he taught or gave this advice according to that, and that's what we call teachings of the Buddha in Buddhism.
다 공부 labja 또 가려고 했어 나스. 근데 나도 semchen 소와 대두 냐가 유행의 semchen 강가라야 지 저서 내가 도받아 누가 만들어 충성해 말이야.
So in its advice, it said, all sentient beings are same in wanting happiness and not wanting any suffering. We all accept that, right? Even though we don't want any of these sufferings, but we continuously experience all these sufferings one after another, just like the ripples in the water, so it comes one after another.
Yeah, come, but dunga say Tayanchik. Dunga the news, Mamos, some Kalaka, Dunga said, so Madeva Dunga, the Yapo, Dunga, so Madeva Dungas.
And again, the suffering is someone that we don't wish to go through, wish to experience, and so forth, right? That's something which we call suffering.
Dunga said, Tamaji, Kaba, shadow, or motor double, which is
so suffering is not necessarily like a collapsing of a house or crashing of a car and so forth. So for example, if we we don't want to hear unpleasant things, right? But we hear all these unpleasant things.
And it's also support us
And so there are also the problems that we don't want to experience through our body or mind, but we do have to, right? So all these unwanted things that we experience or we go through is called suffering.
아니 나봐 다르다 깨라치면 수도 도매 수도 수입만 누가 누구 스치요 말이야.
And so in our society, everybody has suffering. Right? So no matter how rich you are, how famous you are, you can be celebrated, but you can still have all these kinds of sufferings that we don't want to experience.
근데 말이야, 다 근데 누가 뭔가를 가지는 것이나 아니 산지기 어떻게 다 제가 깨는 거예요. 나가서라고 그래서.
And so how do these sufferings come about? And Buddha has taught that this comes through causes and conditions.
근데 어떤 들이지를 갔나? 저쪽에 선 만들어 보는 거예요. 그래서 달라고 그랬어요.
And the main cause for that is the untamed mind.
근데 만약에 샘대 가르쳐서 다 수능 안 수르게 돼요.
And so where is this untamed mind? And that's within our own continuum.
다 빼치는 알아서 샘세대 아니 머리바 마시바 다 내차시바 뜨목선이 와가지고 그래서.
And so all this, the unruly mind or untamed mind, comes from, or falls into this category of the delusions like attachment, anger, ignorance, and so forth.
말이 받으면 새도 같이 읽지 내려 무시 받으라 다 말이 봐고 등라고 와서.
So ignorance is not knowing, right? So we all know what ignorance is. It's not knowing, and especially not knowing the reality, the actual mode of existence of the phenomena.
근데 때문에 말이 받대원기 내차 공조 맞아 타도사도 다 영어 중에 다 등록을 다 생각 좀 맞춰서 왔어.
So this ignorance, that does not know the reality, is the root of all the delusions as well. So all the delusions, because we don't know the reality, because of that, and then we get attached to the things, we get angry about the things, and we get pride, jealousy, and so forth. So all this comes because of ignorance. So, for example, if we know that by engaging in that action we're going to experience suffering, we'll try not to experience, not to engage in that action, right? For example, if we were to drive too fast, over the limit of the speed, then we might get a ticket. So thinking, we know that, so we know about the suffering, which can cost to our pocket. Knowing that, then we try not to speed too much. So not driving too fast is because you're worried that you'll get a ticket, right?
아니 가서 도와줘도 모자 티켓 좀 사대 같이 사야지 아니 티켓 떼서 될 시간이 무슨 그 티켓 그런 빌리팅 것도 시작해 말았어 고등학교 도움을 왔어 야고도 왔어
So also we don't car parks anywhere in the downtown, right? In another place where you're allowed to park, because we're worried that we'll get a ticket. That's the only thing. Otherwise, we don't think that the policeman will see and he will come and beat me and things like that. And so we're not worried about that. We're worried about ticket. Because that will cause harm to your pocket, right? Your wallet. You have to write the checks. So what we're afraid of, is that is the result of that action, right? So because we know that result is going to be the suffering, therefore we try not to create the cause. So that's easy to understand, right? We can see it, we can experience it easily by ourselves, so that's easy to understand. So we can see the cause, we can see the results, so that's pretty easy to understand. But then the other things like the cause, saying that because you don't know, because of ignorance, you're experiencing this, then it's difficult to understand because we don't understand, we don't see the cause easily. And then so therefore we have to kind of eliminate that mind, the mind of ignorance. But it has been one of our best companion all the time.
When control is control line, but control on that can send back to
So, for example, the anger, she said, should not get angry. If you get angry, you become unhappy yourself.
When another control on that, and now so it
So if we are unhappy, if we are angry, then we become unhappy, and we make all our friends or people around us unhappy, right? So we know that, right? There isn't anybody who says, "Oh, I'm so happy today, I got angry." But we don't know that becoming angry causes us to suffer, and therefore we always get angry. And so, because to us it appears, the anger appears as if it's protecting us, protecting us against our enemies. But in reality, by becoming angry, it makes oneself unhappy, and it makes also the people around us unhappy. So Buddha has said you should not get angry. If you should become angry, then you will be unhappy. And so we can check whether that's true or not. So in the same way, don't be jealous. So jealousy also makes us unhappy. And so jealousy also causes us to become unhappy. Jealousy or this the thought of competitiveness, right? So competing with others, and this person is better and very good. I want to have better than that, and so forth. So you kind of compete, with that person in that way, and in that process, you always, fall unhappy. And so same with the pride or arrogance. So the arrogance, is thinking, I'm the one, I'm the best, I'm better, and so forth, right? So when we have that arrogance, we always think we're the best, we're the right, and we don't listen to others. So then if others don't do according to our wishes, we become angry and unhappy. It says, because we have this thought thinking I'm right, and therefore others should follow me. And that's the thing with thought we have, and when others don't follow, then we become unhappy. Is that right?
It's true that. The more problems come then, it's always I'm the thing. Because he or she doesn't do what I said, therefore I don't like that. Right? Therefore, we don't know the result makes for unhappy. When
so whenever these kind of minds, the jealousy, pride, arrogance, or ignorance, and so forth, manifest, in our continuum, then we always feel unhappy. But we are so accustomed to these minds that it's going to be very difficult for us to get it up there. And the person who is causing us to be angry is not at fault either, not to be blamed, because that person is also under the influence of the ignorance. And the person who's causing us to be angry, instead of getting angry towards that person, the best way is to be patient, to practice patience towards that person. And then the best way to practice patience is to think about the person's situation, in the sense, oh, pity him or her. She's under the influence of these delusions of ignorance, and because of that, she's doing this and that, and others to be angry. But she's not with them because she herself is under the influence of these delusions and so forth. So if you think like that, then your anger towards her subside. So for example, if you were to get in a fight with somebody and somebody hit you with a stone, so who do you get angry towards? To the stone or to the person who hit you? So of course we get angry towards the person, right? But we receive the harm directly from the stone, right? Not from the person.
The person is far away, right? The stone here is black.
But we get angry towards the person. So the stone has no freedom, right? I mean, it doesn't have the mind of its own to think that I'm going to hit it. It has no freedom. It is hurt by the person, thrown by the person, so it has no control. And then again, the person who threw with his hand, right? So it's his hand, it's not him. So you know his hand is not him, right? So then the second thing that we should get angry towards in a line up, with the hand, right? If you want to get angry, but we don't get angry to the hand. And so then again, another way of thinking is that you get angry towards the person, right? The person, again, now it's the person, so the hand belongs to the person, so the person is the one to use the hand, so therefore it's the person. So again, then if you look for the person, then in one way you will not be able to find the person, right? You kind of point at this and say, this is the person that hit me. So what will we find the person? We'll look at the body of the person. The body of the person is not the person, right? So let's say that the stone, it was the stone which gave the harm, which directly harmed us. But then the stone was thrown by the hand. The hand belongs to the person. And now we say, okay, so therefore the person. Again, the person is not the person doesn't have control also, because he is controlled by the delusions. So it's actually the delusion that control the person, right? And then the person controls the hand, and the hand controls the stone, and the stone got hit. So if you want to get angry, then you should get angry towards the person's delusions. So it's that person's delusional anger, right, who caused him to throw the stone, and that caused him harm directly. But then again, the anger comes from the ignorance. So it's the ignorance, the root of the delusions within that person's mind, which caused all these things. So therefore, if you want to get angry, then you should really get angry towards that delusion. So that's what Shantideva said in his Guide to the Buddhist Way of Life. I think it's in chapter 6, where he talks about patience. In the chapter on patience, talks about all the disadvantages of the anger and so forth. So if we study that, then we'll find out more about it.
India master. Anyway, if you think about that, then you don't find.
And so if you think in that way, then you don't really find a person or object that you can get really angry towards.
근데 다 저다 말아서 말아야 컨트롤 팔아야 돼. 말아서 컨트롤 장원데 저. 아니 내 자고 장원데 컨트롤 아니 나자 타다고 장원데 내가 코로나도 나게 왔어.
So it's vice versa. So when you get angry because somebody did something that to you, it's the anger or delusion in that person's mind that's causing him or her to do that. And also when you cause others to become angry, then it is not really it's your delusion who is causing you to controlling you, to engage in the action that will make the other person unhappy, other person angry, and so forth. And so we should try to minimize that as much as possible. So if the pride, which says I all the time, we all think about that, right? And I. So of course we all want to have the best for ourselves. Right? I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to have better, this, better, that, and so forth, right? And because we don't get as we wished, therefore we become angry, right? And so the way to minimize that is the teachings, is to apply the teachings of the Buddha.
And Nambuchi, Lono Chevara, called Nabachego, you was country, Nambuchi, Lono Chevara, some and Jovada, some penetrate China, do the Chichoro.
So in order to practice Buddhism, you do not be the Buddhist. If it benefits you, if any of the advice of the Buddha is helpful to you, then you should practice that.
And the Chulu said the color of Chibar was, color Delatesa,
So religion is similar to varieties of food, and there are many different kinds of food. You can eat any one, whichever you like, and they all do the same thing to fill your stomach. And same with the religions.
다시 출루세대 까지 다 semsel라 펜토용하지 다시요 다 라자지 말아.
So the religion is a method or means to help or benefit the minds of people or sentient beings.
가지 가서 지금 레바간이 되는데 레바자 사람이 레바 출루 keleng에서.
And so it is like where we put our hope when we're in difficulties. The religion is a place where you put your hope when you're in difficulties. For people who believe in religions. So when we are young and very young, like a child, then we put our hope in our parents, right? For anything that we wish for, or for any difficulties that we face.
I think maybe here now maybe we refuge police, maybe or some problem.
And so here maybe people will call police for help if they have any problems. So religion is the object of refuge for most of the people who believe in religions to ask for protection. I think it is one of the strongest religion. The Buddhism is the strongest religion that believes that or explains that all the sufferings or problems that we face or we experience comes from the delusions in our mind. And so, but in some religions, they say that this is the teachings or the advice of the God and so forth. Right? So it is the teachings of the Buddha that is explained here in Buddhism, but we have all the right tries to analyze whether it's true or not.
Okay? 어디 대체 당도 지나면 또 당도 걸 텐데 당도 가서 신이 되는 말로 이해해.
So that's the general explanation about the of Buddhism. And now we're going to go through the actual text on Guru devotion.
다 가서 사실 스마트가 되는 말에 보잖아요. 이바 때문에 저 기다리면 맞추고 가져야 돼. 내가 쇼를 지금 제가 이바 때문에 저 기다리면
그래.
서만 주도 지다시거든요. 나를 믿고
먼저 가서 이거 들어.
이마가 만들어 봐. 이마가 와는
산대 댄스다. 산대 댄스. 산대 댄스 제라디다. 맞아, 저래 댄스 제라.
어디 좀 됐지.
나 튕겨 담아서 되죠.
네네.
튕겨 담아서 되죠. 된삼수 가르쳐.
내 때문에
된삼수. 일단 된삼수를 먹어도.
대선 가도.
된삼수를 먹어도. 된삼수 먹어도. 된삼수 제라 되죠. 내가 되는 된 상황에 일로 되죠.
뭐지? 아니 좀 먹자. 만약에 쇼를 지금 시간 좀.
그래, that's what. All right, so let's read this through first together. It's in the outline number 100, right? It's page 267 if it's blue color.
The yellow one.
Yellow is page 304.
304.
304, the yellow one.
Heading 100.
So we're going to read those two outlines, okay? 100 and 101. So what to do in the last part of the session. At the end of the particular lam-rim meditation topic, recite the name and mantra of Shakti Muni, the king of Shakyas, and make prayers and dedications. What to do between meditation sessions. There's no time that can be included in either the meditation session itself or the interval between sessions. It is vital to make proper use of the between session period. If you train your mind during the meditation session and then allow it to become distracted between sessions, it will play havoc with your practice when you return to the meditation session. But if the period between sessions goes well, your ultimate human rebirth becomes meaningful. That is why Geshe Ngawang places such emphasis on his teachings and writing on the time between sessions as well as on the meditation sessions itself. Let us take this particular meditation topic as an example. Between sessions, you should read their accounts and the ultimate commentaries on devotion to the spiritual guide, and how, for example, Naropa devoted himself to Tilopa, Milarepa to Marpa, Domlepa to Lamas, and Atisha. They say your wisdom will lighten if you read different kinds of stories. Reading stories, for example, causes your hostility to increase. So in order to increase your wisdom, don't read them. To prevent delusions from arising at all between sessions, we could become so extent that our senses do not even see the objects that give rise to delusion. We have not yet achieved this, however, so we should be vigilant all the times with our three doors. Even if, for example, we see something attractive, not allow our mind to be led astray. We need to constantly guard the three doors of our senses with vigilance. You should refer to the chapters on maintaining vigilance in Shantideva's engaging in the deeds of the Bodhisattva for more details. The gist of the chapter is the time and again examine the state of your body and mind. In short, that alone is the definition of maintaining vigilance. That is, it is vital to maintain vigilance. You should perform the actions of your three doors, the movements of your body, the things you say, and the train of thought that goes through your mind. While doing these matters with a due consideration. Suppose you go into a room that has only two doors. There can be only two ways to enter or leave the room. By these doors, so by guarding these doors, you guard unity in the room. Similarly, if you guard your three doors and do not leave any members of them, You shut the door against convenient misdeeds. There is a story about Geshe Ngawang Tenley. He safeguarded his mind and refused the third. So he shouted, "The thief, we call to be our guardian in the same way. If we are forever daydreaming, we are in danger of having the following happen to us." A man decided to call his son Dawa Darpa before the child was even born. In his joy, the man started to dance and immediately died. A teacher said, "Check your speech when with the company, check your mind when alone. We commit sins while we are distracted and without reflection. At the time, we do not even know whether it is sin or not. While we are sitting down or walking, we might absentmindedly kill a mouse by line of conversation, say words we should be refraining from killing it, had been vigilant and thought, don't do that, it is sinful." Similarly, when we are in a large gathering of friends and various conversation topics come up, we should check the part of our mind. What exactly am I about to say? If we are about to utter harsh words or idle talk, we should hold our tongues. When we are alone, we should mentally check, what am I recalling? But we should maintain our recollection and vigilance by thinking, if I forget to safeguard my mind, I will not be immediately aware that this has happened. Therefore, I must not forget. Geshe Ngawang Tenley once wrote notices everywhere, putting them even on the walls around his room, with the distracted thoughts. But we are not like him. We put our signs that hide meditation or cash from such a person, and these are our only reminders no thoughts. The time between meditation sessions is extremely important. Even in the retreat, you might have stones inside the road to show you are able to retreat. In some foreground mountains, but your thoughts might not be mindful. My Guru said, my non-practitioner is in retreat and meditates on vigilance in the retreat house of the body. You can become skilled in this method of not being distracted by the overseas vigilance. Geshe Ngawang Tenley said, one of the trivia can act as your books. In other words, everything you see ought to stimulate your love, compassion, renunciation, and so on. For example, Thubten Damchoe, so and anti-fighting be. Thereby gain conviction in the law of cause and effect. When you go to the market, we develop illusions and attachment, since the company is the step to take. By the time you return home, we carry in your daily six acts of sin. But if we are properly analytical and go to the market together with vigilance, this can be the spring stimulus for our renunciation and realization of the purpose. We need to turn everything trivial into a stimulus with our practice along these lines. Right.
Okay. Good. You are tired? This exercise you can reading English. And they're good, you put very good influence or mind. Even we don't know this life. I don't know that, but many people, some people know that, but not doesn't understand very well that you put influence, then next life is very good. We Tibetans, all the teachers come from India, we translated from Indian language to Tibetan, but we just 1 or 2 words we leave the Indian language there. We say we put this leave there, we put our mind good influence for the teaching for Indian language. He doesn't read the Tibetan language, but read the English language. The meaning of subjects, Buddhism, but good influence. And then that goes on to Juke study with him, boss. Some of the that's some of the dance usually culture was another one. She needed to some dance the culture about Juke.
So this is here talking about the last part of the session, right? So you're doing a meditation or practice, on Guru devotion. At the end of that practice session, what do you do? So here the Pabongka Rinpoche advising us to recite the Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra, as many times as possible. This is the kingdom of the Satya, the make prayers and dedications.
아니 사실 좀 내내 지수도 다 공부하고 잡아와 소소로 일이나 장소를 내내 지금 되네마 소소를 주는 뭐 용어가 삼는 땅에 아니 나한테도 많이 나도 별로 좀 그래서.
So if you do the recitation of the mantra with the meditation on Buddha Shakyamuni, then I think that will be more blessing. When you receive more blessing, so you visualize the Buddha Shakyamuni on top of your crown, and there's the mantra garland at the heart of the Buddha Shakyamuni, and then from there, nectar or light flowing down and purifying you. And if you imagine like that, and then recite the mantra, then there will be more blessings.
다시 와서 간에 지원다 간에 다 제차도 간에 제차디 줄라가 지원다 내 지원을 해서 주바로라서 간에로.
So it's the same with the practice, daily practice that we do. At the end of the our daily practice, what we should do this also.
다 되네. 다 이봐 통선서 다 통선 안에 다 맞지들 같이 그래서 간에 내 사디 한참 맞지들 같이 그러는데 다 되는 거죠.
And so now it's talking about next is talking about the between sessions and between meditation sessions. So you finish this session, and then before you go back to the next session, in between there you have a time. So during that time, whatever length of time that you have there, what do you do during that time? And so all the times are included in these two, during the session and not during the session. And so also we can include all our time, in between the time that we do work and the time between that we don't work. So is there any time that you can find that is not during the time when you're working, or that's the time during when you're not working? Can you find a time that is not included within those two times? Understand with here, so the time can be included in the time when you're doing the practice or when you're not doing the practice. And so here, this between meditation session, this is like when you are in a serious practice retreat, and then during the retreat, you have sessions, where you do the practice, and then there's the between sessions, where you don't do the practice or when you take a break. And so it is said that sometimes it's more important between the session than during the session. Of course, during the session, you ought to do you'll do what you ought to do, right? So you say, I must do this practice, you're going to do that. But between the session, you might go astray and say, oh, I don't have to do that, so I can do other things, and you might end up doing so many things that will affect your mind when you're in the session. So just like when you go to school, you study, and then you come back home, you have to still study, do your homeworks, and then prepare all these things. So it's just similar to that.
If you didn't do homework, then you failed tomorrow, right? you can copy some other people's. Then maybe first they don't know, second maybe final they know. They say, oh, sorry, you have to do again. This is from my experience. When I go to school, I didn't do my homework. Next day I go there, study my work on next person, and I check with your homework. But today they have one different. And then Thubten the Chetashi was the Kashi, Tunji Lojong, Tunji Lojong, Thubten the Rinpoche Dana, Tunji Namela, not of Chile, Tunji of Nella.
So it says like here, right? If you turn your mind during the meditation session and then allow it to become distracted between sessions, it will play havoc, with your practice, when you return to the meditation session. So if your between session becomes good, then your optimum human rebirth will become meaningful.
네 대입에 진짜라 지사하면서 책임 남았다. 투성이 되시는 송아리 디미콘데요. 저는 나로베 때로바나 말라르베 마바나 롬템베 지선 senza tempo so 신년 tempo sono contento di ciò tanto so per solo ores solo guayna tanto 신년 tempo coina tempo con lo guayna ne tanto mo cara sono canata ma pena res
and so during the meditation session you practice on Guru devotion, but during the between the session, when you're not in the meditation session and in between the sessions, if you read the biographies about these gurus, about the guru disciples like Marpa, Milarepa, Naropa, Studapas, and Thubten Damchoe, and so forth, that will help you, that will inspire you, to devote to the guru more. So it's good to read those kind of biographies or stories.
Today, Zeno, Jen, Ramombo, Rama Penta Lowaina, and the Penapeta Low, Dona Lowaina, and the Shetan, Chandro, Kondo Chandro, Sena Chandro, and the Chaba Chandro, the Loy.
So instead, if you read other things that may stimulate your senses and give more rise to attachment, rise to anger, ignorance, and so forth, then you should not read those kind of books.
Penamanochi, Kuri Nimitoya, Gomiwaina, Tunguta, something Kasondagas, that Martini, Yamachi, Kondo Naya Korvichi, Kondo Nacho Savage, that the Korvichi, Deployana, more line was.
So if you read a book that may cause you to become angry, and during the sessions, then it will be difficult for you when you go back to the session, right? So you are influenced by that story, and that might distract, and it may cause you to become angry. So if you read a book about that talks about the desire, the love, attachment, and so forth, then that will kind of induce attachment, desire in yourself also, right? So of course you do well during the meditation session, but also you should do well during the post-meditation session. Otherwise, all the practice that you did during the meditation session, will all be wasted. So this is, of course, explaining to somebody who's doing a serious meditation retreat practice. But even but this can apply to us also, right? So when we do our practice, we do it well, try to do it well. But when we're not doing our practice, then during that time we should always be vigilant, to make sure that our minds don't be distracted by these things, which can cause us to become angry, be attached, and so forth. So we know that if we look at something that is beautiful, then that will cause us to, ordinary people like ourselves, to have attachment. Therefore, we should control ourselves not even to look at the things that will cause us to be attached to. That also control our the speech and things. So if we're going to talk about something bad that's going to cause us to become angry, then we should not talk about those things.
But sometimes we listen to the news, we get angry. Sometimes they talk good things, bad things. Sometimes we got angry, right?
So because it causes harm to us, to our mind, therefore we should not do that. And 신소리였어. So you should refer to this as you should refer to the chapter on maintaining vigilance in the Shantidevas engaging in the use of bodhisattvas for more details. The gist of this chapter says, is that it says that the time and again examine the state of your body and mind. In short, that alone is the definition of maintaining vigilance. And we should always, analyze or spy our mind and body and speech, think, see what our body is about to do, see what our mind is about to think, see what our speech is about to say. So how we cause harm to others is through these three doors, right? The body, speech, and mind, either by thinking something bad, or doing something bad, or saying something bad on that. And so if we close those three doors, then there will be no problems, right? So you have shut the door for all the problems to rise. And so it said here that if there is only two doors in the house, and if you close both of the doors, then there will be no chance for the thieves to enter. There's a story about this Geshe Ngawang Tenley, and like when we were sitting, even though our bodies in one place, but our mind can go around, right? So it says, tomorrow I'm going to go to this place, I'm going to do that, and so forth. So our mind can be wandering around all the places, even though our body is sitting in one place. So this is a story about Geshe Ngawang Tenley. So he's one of the Geshe who is quite young. And anyway, one day he went to a puja, to a ceremony. And so because he was young, or new, therefore he was sitting at the bottom of the row. And then, so this the benefactor or the sponsor, who are offering the curd to the monks, was serving from the top row, right? From the top of the row, and then as it was coming down, he thought, they're serving this curd to all the people, and then by the time when it reached me, it will all be gone, maybe, and I won't get any curd. He thought that. Because he thought that, as he thought he's not going to get it, and then when it actually came to him, he said, I don't want it. And so he said, they said, why? He said, I already had it, because I thought I'm not going to get it. And so that's how he kind of applied an antidote to the right way, right there. And so one day again he went to do prayers in somebody's house. So the family of the house went out to work, so he was alone by himself at the house doing prayers. And so there was no tea or tea leaves, and so he didn't have tea leaves in his house. but that the household had a lot of tea leaves.
And they could that time judge care kit and
so he thought of stealing some tea from the household.
And they could charge the Yosa Lapanduchi, Lapayapanduchi, Lapayama, Kumayandu Summer.
And so as he was reaching the tea leaf with his right hand, he grabbed it with the left hand and said, "There's a thief there."
And they could come on the catch them and the time chips level, Kuma the Lavas.
And then the neighbors came and then said, "Where's the thief?" And he said, "There's the thief," and he was holding his right hand.
And then Kuma the Kola Cheshire, the Kumar, the Koda Misan, and the Lamdos, Tabra, Kumaima, Robotis, Konkora.
So anyway, like here, it's just a shouted, "I'm thief." And he says, "This is the thief." He says, he called his right hand and he said, "This is the thief."
But today the Kondo and that assembly of Songo was catching the smoke and Jidu.
So because he's guarding his mind all the time, thinking what the mind is doing, looking at on his mind, what it's doing, and what the speech is doing, what the body is doing. So he's always checking on that. And so when we're sitting still, we always think of all these different things. Does that happen to you? Do you think a lot?
We have a lot of plans, right? And then
and then when we are with the people, we'll talk about all sorts of things, right? Mostly bad.
Also gossips, right? Young Tom Chills, and Michela, Melemba, you are and then Lochila Cola, and Shigaya Shurani, and then she got to the Coronena, Mackenzie took in Coronata, Corashida Yeta, 1 year from the rest.
And then there's the story about this person again who had a very good harvest, and he tied all the grains or the corns in a sack on the ceiling, and he was lying down on the bed, looking at the grains on the ceiling.
And those things, that they had a part of, and that could have sung and could came in here, came into the project. That could down or Dawa, that put a me and Dawa and Korana Gilia,
and so there's a story here that says a man decided to call his son Dawa Tapa before the child was even born, and in his joy the man started to dance and immediately died. So this is the story about the man. So anyway, so this he had a good harvest, so he collected all these grains in a sack, tied it in the ceiling, and then he lied down on his bed, and then he started to daydream. He says, I have a lot of grain this time, so I'm going to sell it, make a good money, and I'm going to get married, and then I'm going to have a son, and I'll call him Dawa Dapa.
And the could part and you can't never check to you get Tapachen, what you could, that's ever as a
and so he got very excited, and he started to dance, and then he accidentally hit the grain, and then the rope broke, and then it fell on him, and he died.
And
so we make all these stories, all these thoughts in our mind, right? And so we think I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and sometimes when we think about what we thought, we feel embarrassed ourselves, right?
Right, you get that? Today is a container, so some courage into some towers, get a car into some towers, so courage into some towers.
So when we're going into daydreaming like that, we should always, try to see what we're thinking about, and same with our speech and body, and see what it's about to say, or see what it's about to do.
There's a bunch of Lapata, Subogota, Pache, Kumanaco, Lapa, Shushu, Pache, Negonina. How to touch it, the mother check out to send down. And it candidate was.
And so most of the body is pretty easy to control, I think, even in this country. Mostly we have to watch our mind and speech.
But we cannot do not. We cannot do very words, bad things, very easy to. But the day that I just goes on that. Susula Kanyo, never check, so they goes in top of Java.
And so that which brings all these problems to ourselves or cause problems to others is these three doors, the body, speech, and mind. So we should guard them very well. And so that's why Lama Tisha said when you're in a company with others, when you're in a group of many people, watch your mouth. When you're alone by yourself, watch your mind. So because when we're with many people, then we might talk all these different things, right? Without even considering, we talk all these things, and then can cause say many bad things, say things that will hurt other people, and then that will cause problems. And by doing so, we're creating a lot of times we're creating sins or negative karmas, and we don't even realize that we're creating negative karma. So I thought it was a mouse, but it's a louse. That's how can you kill a mouse while talking? Says while we're sitting down and walking, or we might ask, I think it should be talking. Sitting down and walking, or sitting down and talking. So when you're sitting down and talking, so you go like this, and you find a lice there, and you just crash it like this, without even knowing it. Of course, that doesn't happen here because you don't get lice on your clothes here. But in Tibet, like in those remote areas, people wear own clothes for a long time. It gets dirty, it gets a lot of lice and so forth. So even without any thinking, just while talking, they kill dogs.
Here we have a lot of here a lot of lices, and here, because it doesn't clean. What they say, and these are temperature, that damage the Pabongka
But if we are vigilant and then think that this is not something that I should do, and if you have thought that, then you will always have that in the back of your mind, and then you will not kill it accidentally. And it says also when we're in a large gathering of friends or people, then we should always watch our speech and see what are the things that we should say and what are the things that we should not say. So it says that if we are about to utter harsh words or idle talks, then we should hold our tongue. And so when we are alone, we think a lot of those things, right? So we should always check our mind, and see what we're thinking. So what am I recalling? And so our mind gets very easily distracted, right? So it flows all over the places, and so therefore we should check our mind. And then Geshe And also it says Geshe Ngawang Tenley, to write a note everywhere saying that be vigilant, do not do not be distracted, and so forth. So he would write a kind of note like that, and that's the practitioner's note. So we, ordinary people, when we write a note, we write a note of something that we don't want to forget. We have to collect money, what we have to do today, what we have to do tomorrow, and so forth.
Right? I paid $200 someplace, they put up behind the chair, right? I went to the restaurant, if we could, they received always. They don't know that. When they not do some email, some yamo, young
so, of course, we should keep these notes, notes of, especially the notes that we remind us of how to practice well, like not to distract our mind and so forth.
And Thubten 또 제대로 삼대기 다 건드던 삼도 다 내가 삼바도 이러다 거는 삼도 지샤에 미용 맞춰. And 다 저도 삼바치서 계신 거래요.
And also here it talks about the stone beside your door to show you are in retreat. So there's they call the border, you know. And when you're in a retreat, you clear the border, and you don't go out of that. And so, so you put a sign, you know, like a stone or something, you know, to say that you are inside the retreat.
근데 다 그런 말은 뭐지? 레진 상관에 샘지 들어와 제시지 사면도 서로 쏘마다 다들 제시지 선데 많이 봐. 다 리스 삼나 대대요 이나야 샘코 총나로 되는다 팽매래서.
And also he says, my guru said the mind of the practitioner is in retreat and meditates on vigilance in the retreat house of the body. You can become skilled in this method for not being distracted by always, you know, being vigilant.
Do you guys done the retreats? Bring the that time some week, man go to east, west, north, south, right? I think I'm not sure. Really, but they're very straight. You just recite the mantras, you know. But man go to all of the land, right? Not just because everybody there, our same consumer was that they was.
So there's we are accustomed with that kind of distractions, and so we should try not to have that.
And it's just a melee, not a pecha. Show somebody that Karisha and Manichi Pajalo Devano, Yamichi Devano, Kantawati, and Shami Jeto, Shanship Center, Miju Jedua, but the Chico Resiva.
And like just like Jamie Rapa said that it said that worldly travel can act as your books. You know, in other words, everything you see and how to stimulate your love, compassion, renunciation, and so on. So whatever you encounter with, you can transform that into becoming a cause for practicing love, compassion, renunciation, and so forth.
And Yamne Cheva, and to come as I think I'm but to me the drama.
And also it says that so an ant bite a bee and thereby gain conviction in the law of cause and effect.
And then also Tum Dawana Pa Yomo to some one to combat a report depart regime. So you that depart, Cherokee there.
And also it says that when we go to town or market, we always have all these delusions, right? Like attachment, ignorance, the covetousness, and so forth. And then each time we have that, we're creating so much negative karmas, so much sins. And then when we return, we have this big bag full of sins. I say that, but if we are properly analytical and go to the market together with the vigilance, and this can be a spring stimulus for our renunciation and the realization of impermanence.
And the Givato, some of the color of some of the colors, mother color, job, and this sweet color, Yadata to do a pentawashu, more than a
So we need to turn everything trivial into a stimulus for Dharma practice along these lines. And so like everything that we do, we can turn into Dharma practice. Like even the food that we eat, the way we eat, the thought that we eat, it can become either Dharma practice or it can become a sin. Like if we eat it with the desire, attachment, then it can be bad. But if we eat through making offerings to the three jewels and then imagining that we're eating it to benefit other sentient beings, or feeding the germs, the bacteria inside our body, and so forth, and that can become Dharma practice.
And the choose the Chetashina,
So just as in any other things, Dharma practice is also very easy if we know how to do it, and it can become very difficult if we don't know how to do it.
Okay. There's that day you get down to Shin
And so after that, I think we have now completed all the section on Guru devotion.
And funny the Shumani,
And so next time we're going to start from the graduate training you should undertake after you have begun to rely on spiritual guides. So that starts with taking the essence of the Prophet Human Rebirth, and this is one of the most important practice.
Okay? You like that? Then we have questions? Yeah.
Homer, questions?
I have two.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the main way of devoting to the spiritual guide through thought?
Okay? Who's giving the answer? Any volunteers? Someone to try to say? Yeah, maybe Kenny can. It's okay. What do you think?
I think it's remembering that really all the Buddhas are all starting first by remembering that all the Buddhas are of the same pace to the Dharmakaya, and that really the Guru they're just manifesting through the Guru, and if you can remember that the devotion will come naturally.
Yeah, that's similar. So you have something different?
Reflect on the kindness of the Guru and the Guru's qualities.
Yeah, Geshe Ngawang Tenley,
Yeah, this.
So yeah, so according to what you said is right, but according to the text, what Ian says is more appropriate because you think about you in the good devotion, devoting the Guru through thought is mainly training to have faith in the Guru, and to have the faith you have to see the qualities, right? So you look at the good qualities, and then you develop the faith. And then you also remember the kindness of the Guru by thinking how he has given you all these teachings and so forth. So those are the two main things that we're training when we're training to devote to the Guru through thought. Yeah, so generating faith in the Guru and remember his kindness. Second question.
Okay? Yeah, this question the 같이 challenging like the got that.
So it's similar to what you both said, but more like what Ian said.
Okay.
What is the way of seeing the good qualities of the spiritual guide?
Okay. How about that? Who want to say?
Understand the question, right?
You already got it? Yeah,
Can I read it again?
Yeah, can you read it?
Okay.
How can you
I'll read
see?
it again.
Yeah.
All right. What is the way of seeing the good qualities of the spiritual guide?
Yeah.
Seeing.
Seeing, yeah.
See. You understand. How you know?
I will try.
Yeah.
Would it be seeing the spiritual guide as a Buddha?
Then
Sunday thoughts.
Sunday towers. Then yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's also especially difficult when the guidance we get from the Guru seems either harsh or kind of contrary to what we think's right for ourselves. And that trying to see those things as things that we need, and sort of keep that faith that these are being given to us for a reason. That's also an important part of seeing that piece there.
Takabola the Geshe Ngawang 가서 수부도 채와 있나? 맞아, 되게 열심히 연주 통해서 하고 싶어서. 지난 나도 주부 제거된 나도 거야지 잘 그런 주부 제거된 나도 삼바이나 대야 팽겨졌어요.
야, 그렇지. 다음 내도 저가나 라문이 얘들 쇼는 따나 얘들 영혼이 따와래 끼는 마다나 마다버렸다 얘들 그로 도서 야수들 했어요.
So
시도를 들어.
the best way to see, what is the way to see? What's the way of seeing the good qualities of the guru, right? Or the spiritual guide. So a good way is to see the qualities, right? Right. And if you look at the, if you look in terms of the good qualities, and then don't look at the faults, then you see the good qualities only. Yeah. Don't think about the faults. So more important not to see the faults. So if we look through the faults, if we look at the faults, then we will see all the faults, only the faults. So we will see faults in everybody. We won't find anybody without any faults. So we'll see fault even in fully enlightened beings. And so you can see it in a good ways and in bad ways. So look at the qualities and don't think about the bad qualities. But you can look at the both and say this is this guru has these good qualities, but this has this bad qualities. Even the bad qualities also are good qualities because of that reason that you just explained. And you can think of that, but then that way you will see only the good qualities. So, of course, different people have different way of looking, right? So something that seems to be good for you is not necessarily good for you, and so, so even if you see it in a good way, but she might think it's bad, and so forth. So therefore, we can't see anything, can't find good in some way from everybody. So for example, like the Mahatma Gandhi, who fought for the independence of India, was of course had many good qualities, and many people looked at him in a very good way, but there must be some people who didn't think it was good what he was doing. That's why he was assassinated, right? So anyway, so it's difficult to find good quality only and not have any fault from everybody's aspect. Same with his holiness the Dalai Lama. If Tibetans, Buddhists, and most of the people in general, when they think of him, they think of him as a very good person. But some people, again, in some part of the world, some people think he is a very bad person, a very evil person. So if you look with the fault, then you will always find fault in people. So the best way is to look at the good qualities.
Okay. And third question?
Okay. You just have this mic. Okay. What is the main cause for seeing the good qualities of the spiritual guide?
Okay. It's all very similar questions. Because it's calling
it that. They're calling it the answer.
That's right. It's my never. It's just only that. It's something coming. Okay. Who's it? Can you say? You want to say the answer? Try? You know what?
Yes, she just does.
She wants the mic? I don't want a mic, I don't. Here's the mic.
All the process of seeing the qualities.
Yeah.
It's
sounds very similar to the previous question. Is
Yeah,
again,
it's very similar.
yeah, seeing a spiritual teacher as Buddha, seeing just the good qualities and the right cause and effects.
It's not only Buddha teacher.
Go on.
Not talk about maybe only Buddha teacher. Whoever the person, we can see the quality. What's the best to see the quality? Our teacher, school teachers, our friends, co-workers, big bosses. How we can see that the person's quality?
That's your learning about that.
작년에 대방 개발했어요. 나도 넘어가는 대방. 신발은 길어 버리나 거기 들어서.
So this is like what is the best way to see the good qualities, or what is the cause for seeing the good qualities of the guru. So if you have this, then you will see the good qualities of the guru. So what is this that will help you to see good quality in the guru?
Yeah, he wants to say something. Go ahead.
Checking?
Yeah.
By checking.
By checking, okay. So by checking, you will see the good qualities.
Well, you have to first check to see if they're there. And
If you check, you don't necessarily see the good quality, right? You're checking.
seems like the answer to the other one by not dwelling on the faults.
No longer the faults, yeah?
Yep.
You have something good? If you raise your hand only halfway.
It's a half
I guess just for me this week, I've been thinking a lot about generation of gratitude, or allowing gratitude to manifest. And I think that it's something that can be, it makes any interaction with anybody, you see the good qualities, and that when you share that gratitude, it creates some virtue there that generates sort of more of it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think it necessarily applies just to Guru, but I think it seems to be the start of the, of it all for me.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you for
Yeah, it's
that.
okay, yeah.
I know this is a little bit on the light side, but is there a word in Tibetan for jealousies?
Yes.
There is?
Yes. A word for jealousy?
He kept saying jealousies when he was speaking Tibetan.
Jealousy là the 열애서 책이었어. 되게서는 책이었어. jealousy 책. 저런 게 jealousy 앞에서 그게 책이 성공했어.
이게 jealousy I talk about English. jealousy 베트가 맞아요. 저도. Tibetan called Thubten. Translate English jealous.
탑독.
Like
탑독.
sounds like car talk.
The Tibetan word translated
Thubten.
English. Jealous. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was reading a teaching by Lama Yeshe last night, and he was talking about how we have to eliminate the self-cherishing mind, because that's the cause of a lot of our sufferings. And so if you are able to diminish that and hopefully eliminate it someday, you can think, and you think more about other people and not yourself. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that help you to see the good in other people?
That's
good. Yeah.
Now I have a thought. How about try to view everyone as your mother? That's what I always said. Right? Some previous life is everyone is our mother or some kind of our grandchild towards us. So if you try to look at it that way, you'll feel you got the quality.
So if you think of your guru as your mother,
You
you have to see the good quality.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay. It's good. Now, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
question is, what is the cause of seeing the good qualities of the Guru?
That's right.
And we have a lot of suggestions. I think the common denominator is all of these things are a mental attitude, right, or a motivation. So we have a mental attitude of gratitude, a mental attitude of seeing the Guru as mother. So it seems to me like the cause of seeing the Guru as beneficial to us is your thinking, it's your mental attitude towards them.
Yes, it is kind of a mind, the mental state, that makes, that you have in your mind that makes you to see the good qualities in the Guru.
So this question you said it wasn't just for the Guru, but everybody?
Everybody.
The good qualities?
Mainly Guru.
Mainly Guru, but it
Yeah.
also applies?
Yes, you can apply to others.
Reflecting on their kindness? Because that also applies to other people too when we think
Yeah.
about kindness.
Yeah, that's gratitude, same, right? Similar. Yeah.
Okay, now I'll give you my answer, okay? Yeah, that give my answer.
So Geshe's answer was the faith. If you have faith in the Guru, then you see the good qualities of the Guru. And then the other thing is the respect. If you have faith and respect towards the Guru, and then you have, you have, you see that good qualities in the Guru.
And that 대바이 나도 대바에서 개개되게 강하다는 것도 얘기를 왔어.
So the Guru that in whom we have faith, we listen to whatever he says, right?
기십 나라서 기십 제조사가 미팅 가들랍지는 것도 얘기를 왔어.
So if someone who who is worthy of respect or who we respect, if that person gives us advice, we listen to that advice, right?
배나 그때 내가 또 집어려 가지. 이게 기빠하면 대바사대야 다른 걸 납작하게 지금 남는 모여를 왔어. 지자. 이제는 내 배사는 좀 지시하죠. 봐. 대기는 하나 얘네 집에 제당 나절 봉지 조에 샘체들이야. 딱 강사 들어야 대파에 와 있나? 대라 때문에 얘네 수수 얘네라야 제당 수수비랑 나절 봉아이 이제 조에 납시하스.
So if you have a faith and respect, then you will you gain the good qualities, and also it will help you to diminish the arrogance, thinking that I know it, I'm best, and so forth. So that will help you to not respect, like when you're arrogant and you don't respect others. But if you respect others, you will not have that arrogance.
It's quite a lot.
I was wondering, isn't faith the result of having already seen the qualities in the Guru?
지난 대파들이 가서 유통 가서 연도통을 두고 말했어. 연도통을 대파 기고 왔어.
대땅 세워서야 그랬어. 제가 대인은 쓰고도. 이나야. 근데 얘네 돈이 가서 대화전에 얘네 돈이 얘네 돈에 대화되고 땅까지 마음으로 먹었어.
So yes, of course, at the beginning, maybe when before you can have faith, and then you have to see the qualities, right? So, but once you have the faith, then you will see more good qualities. So you can debate on that, which one comes first, chicken or egg.
Yeah, chicken or egg. Who's the first, chicken or egg? But then the mother by mother capuchino, which is the same as
so all the good qualities comes from the faith. If you don't have a faith, your virtues or good qualities comes from the faith. Without the faith, you will not achieve that. If you don't believe in somebody who says that, like a Buddha or teacher, then you will not receive all those good qualities that they can teach you. And so that's why it says like a person without a faith will have no good qualities. Just like from a burnt seed, there will be no sprout.
나라서 수술 내가 치잖아. 기십 매와 있나? 기십 매서 밑에 치가는 건 그냥 지금 말 같은 바지 하고 왔어.
And so if we're doing something, like even some kind of a regular walk, if we don't respect that person and that person comes to tell us to do this and do that, we just ignore that person.
But a job, we have no choice. The boss said, we have to do that. But sometimes we have to respect the boss, sometimes not choice.
So even if you don't have faith in him, you still have to respect, right? Because he's your boss. So respecting, is one of the main antidote, for getting rid of the arrogance.
Okay. Yep.
Monsieur Damchoe.
For me?
Yeah.
Why? What did I do? Just kidding.
Didn't you do? Do you know of a man named Joseph Campbell, a former Catholic priest?
No.
He wrote books on archetypes, and one called Power.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that before, right?
Regarding Jung.
Archetype, yeah, now I remember the word archetype.
Yeah. Regarding Campbell, he was a former Catholic priest, very learned, scholarly man, who could not meditate because his mind was so active. And he said once to another priest, when he was asked a question about faith, and he turned to the priest and he said that he had no need for faith because he had experience. What do you think of that?
いや、これです。
5歳。
手箱お前です。このニャミョ
ニャミョです。ニャミョさんの手箱お前です。手箱さんの何なんですか？이치로가? 이치로가お前です。이치로가 뭐 이치로는 나는 아, 대 인글에서 삼바지로. Yeah, in some way you can say that's right. But in our case, maybe it will be tough, to have experience on everything. So
not everything.
Yeah, but of course, the things that you have experienced, you don't have to believe in that. You know it. Oh, it is like that. You don't have to have thought thinking that maybe it's like that.
The experience in life and love and living and being with people and animals and not everything.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things.
So yeah, it depends, what you mean by, having faith and experience. So you don't have to have faith because you have experienced it. And yeah, you can say that's right.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, a question?
Just you can also have the faith before seeing the good quality, right? If you have a karma that guru.
Yes, yeah, of course. So that's what, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's possible. So, like many Tibetans, who doesn't know about the Lama, just because somebody said, oh, he's a great Lama, they just go and, with the faith, they receive blessings and things. They haven't seen any good qualities. So they have a faith, and then afterwards, when they actually meet the Lama, listen to him, and then they can see the more qualities in him.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.